A lot of people have actually been asking the question of what does it take to be rich, what does it take to be wealthy, what does it take to be financially independent. To be financially independent, you need a decade of sacrifice, you need to be resilient, you need to be pragmatic with your money, you need to be financially disciplined. Becoming very, very rich, though it seems very difficult and very, very hard or cumbersome, but if you are willing, if you are determined, if you are ready to be resilient with your money, if you are willing to be financially disciplined with your money, you can actually become rich. Imagine if you are able to invest 150,000 naira at the age of 20 years. You have started investing 150,000 naira per month for the next 40 years. That means in the next 40 years, you are going to be 60 years old. By the time you are going to retire, you are going to retire with 72 million naira. Your money is going to compound, that is, it's going to multiply by 20%. That means that after 40 years, you are going to have 144 million naira. That's a huge amount of money in the Nigerian economic system. That money, you might not be able to finish that money. And at the end of the day, you are going to transfer that wealth from yourself to your children and to your children's children. That's what we call the generational wealth. Becoming rich is going to be more easier for you, and you are going to be able to afford those things which ordinarily you are not being able to afford in the first place. So in other words, those things that have actually sacrificed when you were actually building your wealth, you cannot be able to afford them then. So you're going to retire with 144 million naira at the end of the day. Now imagine you are earning, you have 144 million naira in your investment account today. That means that you can actually be able to pay yourself salary for the next 10 to 20 years. And at the end of the day, you are going to live a fulfilled life. You see, the means to actually get this money may be very difficult, or people will say the economy is not favorable, things are very expensive because there's a high level of unemployment, there's a high level of inflation. But if you are determined, if you systemize your money, if you are willing, you can actually be able to achieve it. The means to actually invest your money may actually be very, very difficult due to the economic situation. But if you are very resilient, if you are very disciplined with your money, you can achieve it at the end of the day. You need to understand that the more money you actually invest, the more wealthier you become. For you to become wealthy, you need to consistently invest your money. The more you are putting your money into that investment portfolio, you will be making more money at the end of the day. So investment is actually a continuous thing. It's not something that you do today, by next month you don't do, by next 2 months you are relaxed or you begin to procrastinate. It is something you need to do continuously every time for a decade of sacrifice. The minimum number of years you can actually use to go through a decade of sacrifice is actually 10 years, because they go through the rudiment of investment. But on the part of the majority of people who are actually the middle class and the lower class, they don't have the flair, or they don't have the idea, or they don't like investing money. People actually believe that once they earn the money, they can actually spend the money. They also believe that when they earn the money, they can use that money to actually afford their luxurious lifestyle. And that's why, most especially among the lower class and the middle class, there's no form of investment, and there's a big margin between them and the rich class. So in the capitalist economic system, the rich will keep on making more money, and the middle class and the lower class will be making lesser money, because money is actually a tool, and as a tool, you need to put it into operation. And the way through which you can actually put this money into operation is when you invest the money. In this video, I am going to be showing some certain things that you needed to stop spending your money on, because in most times, a lot of us actually spend our money on liabilities or things that cannot create value for us, and that is the reason why we are not making money. And by the time we spend that money on things that are liabilities or that create holes in our pockets, you discover that creating wealth or becoming wealthy or investing your money at the end of the day becomes very, very difficult. The number one thing that you need to stop spending your money on today is what I call weird things. People actually spend a large amount of money or big amount of money on weird things. And what are those weird things? Number one is what I call alcohol. A lot of people today, they drink alcohol even to a stupor. They spend a huge amount of money on alcohol with their friends at the beer parlor or the club and the rest of them. But you need to understand that by the time you sit down and actually calculate how much you are using to buy the alcohol, then you are going to realize that most of your money are going into the wrong place. Apart from alcohol, people also spend money on cigarettes. They spend their money on the bet platforms like BetNaija and other platforms where they bet a lot of money. Then when it comes to the issue of bet, you need to understand that out of many people, only few people actually become rich. Then you also have other means through which people actually lose their money through what we call bank charges. When you go out there, you borrow money through easy buy now, pay later, and the rest of them. You're actually creating a hole in your pocket. So you need to avoid these things to be able to build wealth, to be able to invest your money, to be able to become wealthy. So wealth things or string things or things that cannot add value to your life, you need to stop buying or spending your money on those things like cigarettes, alcohol, beds, and other things that cannot create money in your pocket. But two things that you actually need to stop buying is what I call financing the car or financing the cars. A lot of us, I'm not saying here that it's not good to actually buy a car. It's not good to actually have a ride that can take you from one place to the other, even your family during the weekend when you are not in the office. But in most cases, people actually have what I call a misplaced priority. We're not in a society where people are trying to give an impression that they are very rich, they are very wealthy, and because of that, they go for expensive things such as a car. You can imagine a situation where you're actually buying a 40 million naira car or a 50 million naira car or even a 30 million naira car or even a 20 million naira car just because you want to give the impression to your friends and family members and your neighbors that you are actually rich. And at the end of the day, in most cases, most of these guys are buying most of these expensive cars. They still live in a rented apartment. You are living in a rented apartment where you are paying about 10 million naira per annum and you are using a car of 20 million, of that range. What do you think is going to happen? You are actually wasting that money because that 30 million can actually go a long way. You see, in Nigeria now, if you are very prudent and you are very wise enough, you can actually use 10 million naira to build your own house instead of going out there to rent that house and you're paying 10 million naira per annum. It does not necessarily mean where you're actually buying the land to build your house, because right now those things does not actually matter, because in most cases people always want to live in the midst of rich people so that they can give that impression that they are also rich. They live in Naija or Lekki or those Ikoyi or Banana Island because we want to make people to live there actually. But it doesn't work like that, because at the end of the day, you are actually draining your pocket. So buying expensive cars, the maintenance line is very, very, very expensive. You have to fuel the car as well, you have to service it and the rest of them. So those things are going to take a lot of money from you. So the more expensive car you buy, the more money you are going to spend in maintaining that car. Apart from maintaining that car, don't forget you are going to maintain your wife, you are going to maintain your children, you are going to maintain your extended family, you are going to maintain your children's school fees and the rest of them. At the end of the day, what are you going to do? Will you be able to still invest money? Of course not. You might not be able to invest any form of money because you are actually spending your money in the wrong direction. But why don't you do it this way? Maybe you can actually go for a moderate car or a car that the maintenance is actually very easy to maintain, instead of going for a very expensive car where you have to spend roughly 50 to 100 or 200,000 naira to service the car every time you want to service that car. So avoid buying expensive cars or buying or financing cars. And apart from that, a lot of people today also, they buy cars on credit. You pay a lot of money to those car companies every month. You finish the mortgage on that bank. It's actually creating a hole in your pocket. So that number 3 thing you need to avoid today, that's actually creating a hole in your pocket that will not allow you to invest your money, is buying expensive cars. You also need to understand that that car you actually bought cannot live forever or cannot be there forever, because immediately you take that car away from that garage where you actually purchased that car, it's going to lose value. And car is actually a liability, not an asset, because the moment you take that car, you are going to lose the value of that car. It has a limited lifespan and it cannot live forever. So rather for you to buy expensive cars, why don't you go for less expensive cars that are very easy to maintain, that you can easily move from one place to another, and the cost of maintenance are very, very easy. Then the third thing that you need to stop spending your money upon is expensive food item. You see, we are not in a society whereby people always want to give an impression. Every restaurant they go, they want to shoot the video. Every expensive food that they eat, they want to shoot the video. They want to post it on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. They want to give you an impression that they're actually eating good food. But it is not as if I'm saying that you should not eat good food. But what I'm saying there is that most of those food that you're actually eating outside in expensive restaurants where you're posting it on Instagram or Facebook and other social media platforms, you can actually cook that food in your house. Imagine you are going to a restaurant where you are actually eating a food of 40,000 naira per plate. How much is actually your salary? You are earning a salary of maybe roughly 400,000 naira or 450,000, 500,000 naira, and you have used 40,000 naira just to eat one plate of food, and you want to give an impression that you are actually rich. You want to post it out and give the people around you that you are actually a big boy. It doesn't actually work like that. So you are not in an economic system where you have to be prudent, you have to be smart, you have to be pragmatic, you have to be resilient, you have to be financially disciplined. So instead of you going out to those expensive restaurants because you want to drink a coffee, or you want to drink a tea, or you want to eat food with your family, why don't you cook that food in your house? Like what I usually do, every financial month, we actually buy food stuff in the house, and we eat most of the food in the house. I hardly eat my food outside. I don't go to expensive restaurants out there because I want to give an impression to people that I'm actually rich, because at the end of the day I'll be creating a hole in my pocket. So investment is actually a decade of sacrifice. It's something that you have to sacrifice a lot of things. We are no longer in an era where you want to give an impression to people that you are very rich, because they don't care. When you go out there, you want to post those things on the internet, people don't even care again. But rather, you are exposing yourself to a lot of dangers, because at the end of the day, you may end up being kidnapped, you may end up in the wrong hands, or you may end up in the hands of fraudulent people that will take even the little amount of money they are earning at the end of the day. Number 4 thing that you need to stop spending your money upon is what I call expensive phones. A lot of people today are spending a lot of money on expensive phones, and I also know from people that every time phones comes out in a new model, they always buy a new phone. What impression are you trying to give? Because at the end of the day, you are actually wasting a lot of their money. Somebody just told me that that iPhone 17 is actually out now, and that phone is about 2 million naira, and already a lot of people are actually going for it, especially girls and the rest of them. They are buying these phones. Now, what value is that phone is actually going to create for you? Apart from the fact that you are going to use that phone for content creation, if that phone is not for commercial purpose, why do you have to buy an expensive phone of about 2 million naira in this economic system? Now, that 2 million naira can actually buy you a very good plot of land, a very good plot of land in a very good location. You can buy a plot of land, not in Lagos. I'm not talking about Lagos. I'm talking about something outside Lagos, like maybe in Ogun State, as another part of Nigeria. You can use 2 million naira to buy 2 plots of land, 2 full plots of land. You can buy 2 million naira, and you can start building, little by little. Little by little, before you wait, after a year or thereabout, you are finished building a house, maybe a 2-bedroom flat or a 3-bedroom flat, and you can park there with your family. You don't necessarily need to live in a high-browse area. You don't necessarily live in Lekki or Ajah before you can become a big boy. Do you get it now? So it is now time for you to start investing your money rather than wasting that hard-earned money. So buying an expensive phone, if it is not for content creation or for commercial purpose, you don't need to buy that phone. There are also low-end phones that are out there that you can actually buy. And the beauty of it is that irrespective of the phone that you buy, people do not harass you. Nobody's going to harass you for using a low-end phone like maybe Redmi or maybe Infinix or Tecno. Nobody's going to challenge you or beat you over that. So why do you have to stress yourself because you want to give an impression to people that you're actually rich, and you are spending away your future today? Because that's the situation where a lot of people are in now. They are spending their future today. And at the end of the day, when they are retired or they are not working again, there's nothing for them to retire back on. And they start living this kind of depressive life, a suicidal tendency life, where they're contemplating suicide, and they'll be thinking every time. And as a result of this thinking and some other things, they develop high blood pressure or heart attack and the rest of them. And because of this, a lot of people have actually died because they've made a very big mistake in their life. So in order not to make that same mistake today, stop buying expensive phone, because it's actually creating a hole in your pocket. Instead of buying that expensive phone, invest that money and make more money in the future rather than now when it's not creating any value for you. The number 5 things you need to stop buying today that will actually make you to be very wealthy so that you can be able to invest your money is designer wares. Today we have a channel, we have Givenchy, we have a lot of designer clothes out there that people are spending a lot of hard-earned money on because they want to look fashionista, because they want to look good, because they want to give an impression to people that they are actually rich, that they are well-to-do, and at the end of the day, that money is being spent on the wrong item. That money is not supposed to be used to buy expensive clothes. I'm not saying you should not buy clothes. I also buy clothes, but you should rather minimize how much you spend on expensive clothes, because when you are buying these clothes, you might not be able to invest your money. So you can go out there and still buy, first-hand clothes, even second-hand clothes, and you still look pretty, and you still look nice, and you still look, very, very good. Instead of spending huge amount of money just to look very, very well, or to give an impression to people they are actually wealthy. Buying designer clothes have actually made a lot of people to be wrecked today. It has actually made some people to be very broke. It has actually created, financial insecurity to a lot of people today. And at the end of the day, they have not been able to achieve anything, because people that are actually giving an impression to, at the end of the day, do not even send you. And lastly, you need to do what I call financial audit. In all this that I've actually seen so far, you need to do a financial audit where you actually create a book. You have a book where you actually list all those items that you have actually needed in your life. Those items that are not very, very important, you can put them aside, and those that are very important, you can put them and itemize them and take them one after the other. And when you actually have a monthly audit for your account, it will help you to be financially disciplined. It will also help you not to spend money recklessly. It will help you not to become extravagant. It will help you to stay focused. It will help you to channel your money into the right direction, rather than spending your money on expensive designer wears, expensive phones or clothing or cars, or all those great items that you don't actually need. You go to the nightclub, you drink to stupor, you go out there, you drink a lot of drinks, and you spend a lot of money on things that you don't necessarily need in your life, because they are not actually creating value for you. So create a financial audit for yourself today, so that at the end of the day, you can be able to know where your money is going and where your money is not supposed to be going. When you have a financial audit, it's just like you are creating a budget for yourself, where you actually systemize your money, where you put into what I call, these are the money I'm going to spend, this is the money I'm going to save, and this is the money I'm actually going to invest. You see, the key to the future, if you want to become rich, to be very wealthy, is when you have financial discipline, when you have a goal, when you stay focused, and you avoid all forms of distraction that's happening around you, because people will always want to intimidate you with their phones, their designer wears, their cars, and the rest of them. But that should not distract you, because you have a place you're actually going to. You're actually building wealth for yourself. And in the next 10 years, I can bet you, if you are very consistent with that investment, you are going to become a millionaire, and the world is going to celebrate. We have a lot of people that are silent millionaires today. You don't need to boast, you don't need to show off yourself that you're actually investing, or people to know that you're actually investing. You can be a silent millionaire. You can be dressing average in society, and people don't even know who you are. And on the other hand, you are building fortunes, and you are building financial empire for yourself. Do you get it now? So if you want to build a future that can guarantee you financial stability, then avoid all these things I've actually stated in this video. Financially audit your expenses every financial month. Before you spend that money, when you earn the money, do what I call financial audit. Do a budgetary plan on how the money is going to be spent. And I can bet you, if you plan it very, very well, you are going to achieve your whims and caprices at the end of the